their selection now, which is going to be in a moment here. By the way, 10 of the first 14 picks in the second round have already been traded. That's a fun fact there. So
that's a movement
to give us some crazy facts here. But it is stunning because it's all defensive tackles and all corners, which I think is really interesting. You know, you saw all the push to the quarterbacks and the offensive line in the first round. And the second round of the NFL draft, everybody's getting defensive tackles, everybody's solidifying corners. So really interesting if you want a snapshot of what the value in the NFL looks like. That's what it looks like. So look at that snapshot and don't look at the Patriots pick. The Panthers have picked up for a running back, Jonathan Brooks, the first running back off. So the Texas boy with the ACL that's healing, Thor. Let's go through this one. So he has got good vision. He is an elusive player. He is 6 foot and change, 216. Running backs from Texas, certainly a storied history. So what is it we should be excited about with Jonathan Brooks? Or did Carolina put the cart before the horse yet again here and take somebody off potential a little too soon?
Yeah, and they'll go back to the tape on my take of the tickets I bought on RB1 just a little bit ago. But
I don't know what you're talking about.
Never happened.
That's a good host right there. If I'm Carolina, I don't think that this is the position I'm hitting right here. I realize that their running back room is not good, but I think I would have waited around. If you're the Panthers, why are you leading the dance on this? They're obviously one of the teams that likes Jonathan Brooks, mentioned before, and Joe just did in the setup of him coming off the knee injury. But I brought up the context before. The entirety of Jonathan Brooks' evaluation comes off of 10 games. He did look good in those 10 games, but we did not get the athletic testing profile on him before that, earlier in his career, stuck behind Bijan and Roschon. I like the agility and the make you miss with him. He has good contact balance as well, the acceleration, but lacks the long speed in the passing game, not quite as good with him. I like Trey Benson more. That's a more dynamic back to me that we have seen more tackle breaking utility with and has proven it for longer. And you can do more stuff with him in the passing game, also a better pass blocker. So for me, I wouldn't, especially here at 46, leading the dance. I think I would have let it come to me a little bit more if you're a talent bereft roster like the Carolina Panthers.
Panthers are going to panther after all. Derek Brown. Sure. If Brooks did not have injury concerns, would that change your mind here about him as a prospect?
I feel like it's still early to select him, but I also will say the Carolina, I tweeted this out I think about 2 weeks ago. I said the Carolina Panthers are the sneaky spot for a running back to land. And because people look at their depth chart and they say, but you got Chuba Hubbard there, but you got Miles Sanders there. That doesn't matter at all. Chuba Hubbard is an unrestricted free agent after this year. Miles Sanders can be cut next year, and they could save. They'll only be on the hook for $2.9 million in dead cap. So, what do we know about Canellis? His multiple stops last year in Tampa Bay leaned on Rachaad White. He wants a guy that they can run their entire rushing offense through. And I'm not telling you Brooks is that guy out of the gate. But also, Thor talked about his prospect profile. We need to also mention the fact that in 6 of the 10 full games he played at Texas, he had at least 20 carries. So in the small sample, the ability to handle volume. Now, I know he did eventually get hurt and things like that. So you can make the case of, well, did he really prove that he can handle volume? But he did have the volume in the games where he was healthy. Carolina has been one of these teams that I was like, okay, I really think they're going to go running back in this draft because this coaching staff is not beholden to anybody on that depth chart. None of those guys in that room, even the GM, gave the contract to Miles Sanders. None of them drafted Chuba Hubbard. So while Jonathan Brooks might be slow off the blocks from coming off the injury, I think once he's up to speed and he's 100%, good or not, and we can debate the pick, I think he's going to be the bell cow in Carolina.
For sure.
All right.
For sure.
I can tell you this. Derek, I think Brooks is a guy that I will be drafting in redraft leagues, and I'll tell you why. Because you know my evaluation of the running back position lately, which is there's like a handful of guys that I like, and after that, forget it. And it's not zero RB. It's just I'm not taking guys at the cost where there's still valuable wide receiver, tight end, or quarterback talent on the board. So Brooks to me is one of these perfect guys that you could throw some darts on late if things are going well with health reports and things like that. At some point, you do think is going to get an opportunity, because with the rookie running backs, I'm looking at the last 6 weeks of the season, not the first 6. I'll find some guys early on, injuries happen. I'll find guys off the waiver wire. I could see myself looking at Brooks, especially since, they were so aggressive with him here, that tells me they are going to find a spot for him sooner than later to get some opportunities again, as long as the health is trending in the right direction. So,
well, to your point, Joey,
from a fantasy standpoint, I could see myself having a fair amount of shares of in redraft. Go ahead, D.
yeah, I agree with you. And to your point, we also need to talk about the landing spot that has been discussed about Jonathan Brooks, because whether you want to talk about the coaching staff, whether you want to talk about the medical team and stuff like that, the Dallas Cowboys are sitting at 56th in this round. So this could easily be Carolina got on the phones and said, could we trade back? Or they're just worried that Dallas was maybe going to pull a Jerry Jones type of move and move up for Jonathan Brooks. So they felt like they probably had to take him here.
Yeah, it's a great conversation here for sure. The New York Giants pick is in, and then the Jaguars are up next at 47 for the Giants and at 48 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It looks like the Giants are selecting Tyler Nubin at 47.
Minnesota in the house.
Let's talk about that. Let's get your take on that one here, Thor Nystrom. Tyler Nubin is now a New York Giant. Your thoughts?
Yeah, with 3 consecutive picks, we saw tickets cashed at sportsbooks with Edgerrin Cooper LB1, then Jonathan Brooks RB1, then Tyler Nubin being safety 1 here. Tyler Nubin, safety 1 on my board as well. I had him at 61. I love the game. The athleticism was the only question with that kid. 37th percentile athlete. The speed and the difference that he put up in Indianapolis was not quite as good. But on the field, the thing that reminded me, watching him live here locally, the stadium is like, I could walk to it down here. The thing that I don't want to evoke him to Antoine Winfield, so I almost hesitate to say this, but they have one part of their game that was similar that you would see with Winfield when he was playing for the Gophers that Nubin had, which is they would take the 2 steps before the quarterback threw the ball. So it was like you think about anticipating more with the quarterbacks, but they would see the concept before it would happen in terms of that. So it was the early break all the time. Or if it was a running concept, they would get the early break downhill on it. So he's not the best athlete, but he gets a head start in every race, right? And so that, in some ways, he's mitigating that. Remember Antoine Winfield in his process, he comes out the whole time we were talking, he's small and he's not as athletic. Because of that, a player who was a stud in college and had NFL bloodlines falls down to the second round, like his buddy Tyler Nubin here, has been amazing in the NFL because that superpower of his, of seeing the thing 3, 4, 5 seconds before it happens, played up in the NFL as well. That thing translated. If it does for Tyler Nubin as well, it's going to be the same thing for him.
Derek Brown, I want to get your take on this before I do. Just letting you know, Thor, the chat redeemed itself for you. Should we do a Zoom draft once every 10 years? Yes or no? 58% said yes.
Okay.
Yes, so there you go.
Let's go. Wait,
so back in your good graces.
I believed in you guys. I always did.
Never lost faith. We never lost faith.
With the Nubin selection, Derek Brown, one of the things that pops up with Nubin is leadership, which is something I think the Giants could use a lot more of. Do you think that's the important thing with this selection here?
I absolutely think it'd be part of it because they lost one of the big leaders in that locker room this offseason and losing Xavier McKinney. So not only are you filling a need, but a voice in that locker room on the defensive